Section 1.6 is the commutative and associative properties. So these should be review for us. Let's take a look. The commutative property says the order in which you add or multiply numbers does not change their sum or product. So order, when you commute from one spot to another, you change your position. So for addition, we're saying that A plus B is the same as B plus A. Or 3 plus 2 plus 1 is the same as 2 plus 1 plus 3. And we can do the same thing with multiplication. 3 times 6 times 2 is the same as 3 times 2 times 6. I'm just changing the order, doesn't affect the product or the sum. The associative property, who you associate with, who you are grouped with. The way you group three or more numbers when adding or multiplying does not change their sum or product. Grouping. So A plus B, if I add those first and then add C, is the same as taking the B plus C and adding them together first and then adding A. The same thing can happen with multiplication. If I'm multiplying 3 times 2 times 6, that's the same as 3 times 2 times 6. And I know you've seen these before, so we're going to do a little work with them in class. Let's take a look at all the properties we've looked at up to this point, or most of them anyway. The commutative property, the one we just looked at, for addition, oops, I need a different ink color. For addition, we'd say A plus B is the same as B plus A. For multiplication, A times B equals B times A. The associative property, A plus B then add C is the same as A plus B plus C first in parentheses. For multiplication, multiplying AB first and then times C is the same as multiplying BC first and then times A. Our identity, do you remember what the additive identity is? 0, so A plus 0, whoops, is the same as 0 plus A, which is A. The identity for multiplication is 1, so A times 1, or 1 times A, is also A. There is no 0 property for addition, but there is a 0 property for multiplication. A times 0, or 0 times A, those are both 0. The distributive, it's the same property for addition and multiplication because both things are used. A times B plus C is AB plus AC, and substitution also is the same for both. If A equals B, then A may be substituted for B. I'm sure you'll need to pause. I'm sure you have already, but make sure you get all of this written down. Okay, let's do one example. Using the expression 4 times the sum of A and B increased by twice the sum of A and B, write an algebraic expression, then simplify and identify the properties. So the first thing I want you to do is to pause the video, and I want you to take the sentence or the expression and write it as an algebraic expression, and then turn the video back on and see how you did. Okay, 4 times something. So I'm going to put a parentheses. 4 times all of this, the sum of A and B. 4 times the sum of A and B. So A and B is going to go in parentheses. So I'm going to do 4 times the sum. Is increased by, that means add 2. Twice, that means 2 times, the sum of A plus 2B. So hopefully you got that for your expression. If you didn't, be sure you ask me. Hopefully you understand now why this is the appropriate expression. So the first thing I'm going to do is distribute. 4 times A plus 4 times B plus 2 times A plus 2 times 2B, and that's the distributive property. Next, I'm going to actually multiply. We can call this either just multiplication, that's not really a property, or we can say substitution. 4 times A is 4A. Now, think about what our next step should be and see if you can come up with it. Pause if you need to. Alright, the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange. I'm going to say 4A plus 2A to group my like terms together, and I'm going to put the 4B and the 4B together to group those. What did I do to rearrange to get my like terms? I moved things around. That's the commutative property. Then I'm going to combine my like terms. That's 6A plus 8B, and that's our substitution. Okay, short video, pretty easy to do because I think it's all review stuff. If you have any questions, write them in your notes, and I'll see you in class.